So apparently Nvidia just killed AMD with their new lineup of GPUs that they revealed yesterday. Here we can see the one that we're going to be focusing on in this video, the GeForce RTX 5070. This card here is causing so much controversy and excitement online, and the main reason why is because this thing is super powerful. Supposedly, according to Nvidia, it has RTX 4090 level performance, except the RTX 4090 is like a $1,500 to $2,000 card, and this one, the RTX 5070, is only $500. So it's literally a third or a fourth of the price. But yeah, we're gonna be looking at this article real quick here, PCGamesN.com, where it says Nvidia GeForce RTX 5070 to match the RTX 4090 speed for just $549, claims the GPU giant, which is of course Nvidia. So yeah, it's a bold statement. Like they said, Nvidia claims that this new $500 card is going to match their previous flagship card that literally costs like the price of a used car, like literally like $2,000. I think some of them even went up to like $2,500, which is kind of crazy. But this is all kind of marketing talk. This is not true. Basically, this whole claim that Nvidia is saying that the RTX 5070 is basically a $500 4090, this is just not necessarily true. It's like they're using like marketing tactics and stuff like that, and the real reason why the performance of the RTX 5070 is even being compared to the 4090 in the first place is thanks to some of these new features that come with the RTX 5000 series of cards, specifically this here, DLSS 4. If you don't know what DLSS is, it's basically just an AI upscaler that Nvidia, it's like proprietary to Nvidia, right? So basically it takes a low resolution image and kind of makes it look like a high resolution image. This is super beneficial for gaming because playing at lower resolution means more FPS, but because it is making it look like a high resolution, that means that your game is still going to look crisp and clear. DLSS has been the selling point of these RTX cards since the RTX lineup came out with, the 2000 series, right? The RTX 2060, 2070, 2080, all of those. DLSS has been a selling point for these cards since then, and now with DLSS 4, this is going to be the major selling point for the RTX 5000 series, because DLSS 4 is going to be unique to the 5000 series. So unfortunately, if you did spend $2,000 on the 4090, you're not getting DLSS 4, you're stuck on DLSS 3. The reason why DLSS 4 is such a big deal now is because, as we can see, it says here, DLSS goes beyond frame generation of DLSS 3, where it basically can now generate up to 3 new frames rather than just 1. So how this worked before was with DLSS 3, right? It would take 1 frame and kind of make an extra fake frame. So this technically would double your FPS. That was with frame generation on DLSS 3. However, DLSS 4 is going to be producing 3 fake frames. So it's basically tripling or quadrupling your FPS. And that we can see in action here in this little video that Nvidia has. They're playing Cyberpunk with full ray tracing on and with no DLSS on at all. We can see that the RTX 5070 is only getting 27 FPS, 26 FPS, but when they use DLSS 4, now it's literally getting 200 FPS. It's getting a crazy amount of FPS compared to when DLSS was turned off. This right here, this whole, the crazy frame rate with DLSS 4 and stuff, this is why Nvidia is saying that the RTX 5070 is going to match or even beat the RTX 4090, despite it costing a third of the price or a fourth of the price. But it is specifically because the RTX 5070 is going to be relying on that AI upscaling, whereas the RTX 4090, when they're doing these comparisons, they're comparing it to the RTX 4090 just based off raw performance. It's not using DLSS or frame gen or anything like that. So basically, an RTX 57 with DLSS 4 and with frame generation on can match the raw performance of an RTX 4090 roughly. That's at least what Nvidia is claiming, again, without all the marketing tactics and terms and stuff like that. Obviously, we're gonna have to wait for actual like unbiased benchmarks, because obviously this is cherry picked by Nvidia themselves to make these new GPUs look really good. So we're gonna have to wait for actual raw benchmarks. But yeah, that kind of explains the RTX 5070 is better than the 4090 and stuff. It's not actually. Technically, it kind of is if you kind of, use the 4090 very, very specifically, no extra features turned on or anything, and you use all of these new features of the 5070. Still, despite that though, this new card, this 5070, is a very, very good value card. $500 and you're basically getting a crazy good card. This performance would have been considered, you know, not even mid-range, but like high end back in the previous 4000 generation, but now this is considered the mid-range, you know, option, and that is really, really good. Nvidia also has these little like quick benchmarks that you can see here. This is with DLSS and a full ray tracing turned on, and as we can see, the green represents the RTX 5070, whereas the gray represents the last generation RTX 4070. And as you can see, the 5070 beats the 4070 pretty handedly. So this is definitely a big upgrade, and it also comes in at a lower price. Another cool feature of these 5000 series cards is Nvidia Reflex 2. As you can see here, with Reflex turned off, it says that playing a game, you would get around 64 milliseconds of latency. That's basically from when you actually do something, right? Like when you press the button to shoot or whatever it is, compared to when it actually happens in game. It's saying that with Nvidia Reflex turned off, this is the latency, 64 milliseconds. However, with Reflex 2 turned on, that actually turns down to just 16 milliseconds. So this is going to be really, really good for those super competitive games, you know, whether it's Marvel Rivals or, you know, even something like Call of Duty or whatever, anything that supports Reflex 2, you're going to get significantly less input latency with this new feature. So that's going to be really cool too for those competitive games. So like we mentioned in the beginning of the video, supposedly people are saying that, you know, Nvidia kind of killed AMD with this lineup of GPUs that they revealed. And the reason why is because AMD did reveal some new GPUs, one of them being the RX 9070 XT, which is supposed to be their answer to the RTX 5070. However, they really didn't reveal too much information in regards to these GPUs. And a lot of people are assuming that the reason why is because they just weren't expecting that RTX 5070 to have that level of performance with that competitive pricing. On top of that, right now, there's no release date for this specific card that they have here, this mid-range card that's going to be going up against the RTX 5070. There's no release date or anything like that. I think they said that we'll hear some more information later on in the quarter. That could be any time between now and like 2 months from now and stuff. And the RTX 5070 literally comes out next month. These new AMD cards were out on display during this whole, you know, the CES 2025 and stuff like that. But again, not much was actually revealed about them. So right now, a lot of this is just speculation and things like that. We don't know the price point. We don't really know how it's going to fare up against the RTX 5070 in terms of performance or anything like that. And again, supposedly the reason why there is such lack of information is because AMD was going to announce stuff, but then after seeing Nvidia's announcement, they kind of just backed off for now. I don't know. Me personally, I think it's going to be pretty tough for this AMD card, the RX 9070 XT. I think it's gonna be pretty hard for them to actually match up to the performance of the RTX 5070 when you consider things like DLSS 4 with that new generation of a frame gen and stuff. It's gonna be pretty tough for them to match that performance. And on top of that, they're gonna have to keep that price point in mind, like $550. That's not a lot of wiggle room for AMD to be able to go ahead and release this GPU. And so it's kind of, you know, it feels like Nvidia did put AMD in a really rough spot. Not only is of course Nvidia going to have the most powerful GPU with that RTX 5090, which is like the top end one that they revealed yesterday, but on top of that, it looks like they might also be winning in the mid-range department. And that's not even mentioning the fact that the RTX 5070 literally comes out next month. It comes out in February. We don't even have a release date or anything like that for these AMD cards. They said we're not going to get information until, you know, sometime towards the end of this quarter. By then, the RTX 5070 is already going to be out. So it's not really looking too good for this RTX 5070 competitor from AMD. But I mean, who knows? Maybe it ends up being a really good card. Maybe they are able to actually undercut Nvidia with the price of it. But right now, it looks like Nvidia has kind of just dropped a bombshell on the PC gaming community and has came out with not only really powerful cards, not only with really powerful AI features, but on top of that, the prices are actually pretty good. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. And with all that being said, guys, thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.